You ever meet someone so entitled that they think the world revolves around them? That was this kid, sprawled across 5 metro seats like a king on his throne, blasting music and acting like everyone else didn't exist. When I asked him to move his bag, he smirked and said, "Knack." I don't think so. Man, what happened next? Let's just say, he learned that the world doesn't cater to his kind of arrogance. If you've ever seen someone get a taste of their own medicine, you'll love this story. Hit subscribe, smash that like button, and comment below. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? Because today, karma took the metro. It started like any other day. I was 22, running a little late for an appointment, and hopped onto the metro during rush hour. You know the kind, bodies packed shoulder to shoulder, that faint hum of chatter, the screech of metal wheels grinding against the tracks. But even in that chaos, one thing stood out. There he was, a teenager, maybe 16, lanky, wearing oversized headphones and acting like he owned the entire train. He wasn't sitting. He was lying down across 5 seats. One arm flung dramatically over his head, his legs stretched out like he was sunbathing on a private beach. And next to him, a massive backpack sprawled across another seat, like it needed its own reservation. People were standing all around him, exhausted workers, students clutching their bags. And yet nobody said a word. That kind of silence always strikes me. It's like everyone collectively decides, yeah, this sucks, but it's not worth the trouble. Well, that day I decided it was worth the trouble. I stepped closer and said, as politely as I could, "Hey, could you move your bag so someone can sit?" He turned his head slowly, lowered one headphone, and looked at me with that teenage combination of boredom and defiance. Then, with a smirk that could curdle milk, he said, "Naha. I don't think so, man." He didn't even raise his voice. He said it casually, like he was doing me a favor by acknowledging my existence. Then he put his headphone back on and went back to scrolling through his phone, music still blasting loud enough to leak through the entire carriage. Something inside me clicked. It wasn't even about the seat anymore. It was about respect. That kind of smugness, that quiet belief that rules don't apply to you, has a way of lighting a fire in me. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. But then I looked around. There were elderly people standing. A mother with a small child trying to balance herself. And this kid was lying there like he was the main character and everyone else was just background noise. So I made a decision. If this was going to be a lesson, it might as well be one he'd remember. I reached down, grabbed his bag, not yanked, not ripped, just calmly picked it up. It was heavy. I felt the weight shift in my hands, probably a laptop or some electronics inside. Then, without saying a word, I tossed it a good 5 seats down the train. The thud it made silenced the entire carriage. Every head turned. The music from his phone was still playing faintly, but the beat suddenly felt very out of place. He sat up instantly, eyes wide, and barked, "Dude, what the hell are you doing? Go get my bag!" I looked at him, kept my voice level, and said, "You can either fight me, or you can go get it yourself." For a second, I could see the gears turning in his head. He wasn't expecting confrontation. He thought I'd just back down like everyone else. But I wasn't moving. Now, I'm not exactly intimidating, but I'm 90 kilos. I work out, and I was not in the mood. He, on the other hand, was a tall, skinny kid, all limbs and ego. You could see the confidence drain from his face as he realized he was outmatched. 5 seconds passed. Maybe 6. Then he huffed, stood up, and walked down the aisle to get his bag. I sat down, and I didn't just take one seat. I motioned to the others who were standing. "Go ahead," I said. "Plenty of room now." A couple of people hesitated, then smiled and sat down. The energy in that moment was electric. You could feel the quiet satisfaction in the air. When the kid came back, every seat he'd been hoarding was now occupied. He stood there, fuming, clutching his bag. "Yo, that was my spot," he snapped. I turned to him and said, calmly, "The only way I'm moving is if you start a fight with me." He stared at me, his fists clenched, his jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought he might actually swing. But then, he didn't. He looked around, at the people who were now watching him, not with fear, but with disapproval. He saw the silent judgment, the eyes that said, "You brought this on yourself." And that's when his expression changed. The arrogance melted away, replaced by embarrassment. He muttered something under his breath, probably a curse, and stormed off to the other end of the train. I just sat there, heart still pounding, adrenaline slowly fading. Did I feel like a bully? Maybe a little, but mostly I felt relief. Because sometimes people like him need to be reminded that the world doesn't bend to their entitlement. For the rest of the ride, the train was quiet, peaceful. People smiled faintly at me, not in a "you're a hero" way, but in that subtle, shared human way that says, "Thank you for doing what we all wanted to do." When my stop came, I stood up, slung my bag over my shoulder, and as I walked past, I caught the kid's eyes for a split second. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. But the message was clear. Respect goes both ways. Looking back, I don't think this was about revenge as much as it was about balance. Entitlement only thrives when people stay silent, when no one pushes back. That day, I didn't teach him to fear me, I taught him that actions have consequences. The world doesn't owe you a seat, especially when others are standing. And sometimes, karma doesn't wait. Sometimes karma rides the same train you do. If that story gave you that sweet hit of justice, do me a favor. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves seeing karma do its thing. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge or justice moment you've ever seen in real life? Because remember, sometimes doing the right thing doesn't make you a bully. It just makes you the one person brave enough to stand up.